Thank you.
Your presentation indicated many changes that are going to be needed. Many changes are going to require campaign reform. What do you suggest?
You talking about election campaign reform? Couldn't be more in favor of it. If you look at right now, we just had a crisis, an economic crisis that was fomented by Wall Street going wild. The financial economy got out of control, caused a crisis that caused us to lose 11 million jobs in this country. And when we try to reform them, what you see right now on Washington, on the Hill, Capitol Hill, as you and I sit here and talk, there are 4 lobbyists for every member of the House and every member of the Senate on Capitol Hill right now trying to prevent a conference from actually getting a law that will work for us. Unfortunately, I believe with this Supreme Court, it may take as much as a constitutional amendment saying that money does not equal free speech. Because as it turns out right now, the Supreme Court said any regulation on money, they say, is infringement on free speech. When if you take that one step further, it means the more money you have, the more free speech you have, which I don't think was the intention of our founding fathers. So it may take a constitutional amendment, but we are working short of that to try to curb the last decision that was made so that unlimited amounts of corporate and union money, quite frankly, can't flow freely into the election process, and we can have elections that are actually based on issues, not on who can spend the most. I think there's no more important issue right now than doing campaign reform that gets us back to where the people's voice is heard more than the lobbyists' voices are heard.
What can unions do to motivate the children of your members to perform well in school and desire either a college education or a proud, skilled vocation?
Well, I think we do that several ways. And you can talk about it. And I remember when I was growing up, the thing that my parents said to me every single day. Every single day they said, the coal companies can take anything away from you, but if you get an education, they can't take that away from you. So part of it's up to us. We have to continue to talk to them every single day. We also have to do it by example. And what we're doing in the labor movement to try to increase the importance of education and training is the following. One, we have apprenticeship programs that our members go through that actually builds them, gives them the skills to be a career path forward. We're creating now pre-apprenticeship programs because there's many people in the community that can't pass the test into an apprenticeship program because their math skills or English skills aren't up to par. So the pre-apprenticeship program gets them there. It's also bringing that program to the community itself. We're also doing something. We have a labor college. I don't know if you know about this. We have an accredited labor college that we have just outside of Washington, D.C., where you can get a Bachelor of Science degree or a master's degree. And we formed a partnership with Princeton Review to take those courses online. It'll be the largest online college in the next 5 years, and we'll be able to convert every single union hall into a classroom so that people can start getting college credit. By the way, we've also upgraded the level of our apprenticeship programs so that when one of our apprentices comes out of those programs right now, they get an associate degree and they're about 2/3 of the way to a Bachelor of Science degree. It's also talking about education policy. Our affiliate, the AFT, increasingly talks every single day about how to make education better and more affordable and more effective to not only our members but to every child out there, because it is the future of America and the future of our country. But think about this, because I want to tie it back into economics. Whenever we have a mortgage crisis and it drives property values down, that has an effect on your school district because the tax base goes away. Whenever a factory closes and moves to China, and the people that moved it to China got rewarded for moving it to China, that takes away from your tax base. People don't pay taxes, and neither does that company. So the other thing that we're trying to do right now is make sure that we have fair revenues in this country so that our educational system can be adequate and growing. And one of the things that's up right now is a bill that would send money to state and local governments to prevent the layoff of hundreds of thousands of teachers. Up to 900,000 teachers, firefighters, and police officers could get laid off because of what's happening in the state budgets. That will destroy the future of education for all Americans, not just for union members. So we're fighting that on a daily basis.
Mr. Trumka, I was very impressed that you took such a strong stand on immigration and immigration reform, and I would support that wholeheartedly. My question is, what's the difference in political strategy for the AFL-CIO and the labor movement? Is this now your top priority? A year and a half ago, beginning of the new administration, card check was very high on the priority list, I know. Has this moved ahead of it? Is this something? And secondly, it seems to me it won't happen with a coalition of just union and faith-based organizations. And there's some common interest with business here in some significant areas. Has that been discussed, and is that something that is moving forward from your point of view?
I could talk all afternoon on those questions. I appreciate them very much. I'll try to put them in a context. None of these issues can actually be taken separately. You have to look at them as a whole. And let me start off by giving you an economic framework that will explain to you what I mean. From 1946 to 1973 in this country, productivity doubled, and so did wages. It was the greatest distribution of wealth of any country, any time in the world. And the interesting thing about that was the people in the bottom two quartiles, their wages were increasing faster than the people at the top, so the wage gap was closing. Then in the mid-70s, things started to change, and from 73 forward, productivity has continued up, but wages for workers has stagnated and actually going down the last several years. So we make less now than we did before, and we've been stagnated since the 70s. So to cope with that, workers had to go through a bunch of strategies. First, they tried working a lot of overtime. And when they couldn't keep up that way, they sent a second person from the family out into the workforce, or a third person to keep family income up. When that didn't keep pace, we took on a second and sometimes even a third job, trying to keep our ability to consume up. Now remember this, that our economy is 72% driven by consumer spending. 72%. If consumers can't spend, the economy can't grow. And you can't spend if your wages are flat. Now, by the way, from 46 to 73, collective bargaining was about at 37.5% of the workforce. That's the density. So wages that were shared equally were driving America, and we were all prospering. Since that time, of course, the share of people that have collective bargaining has dropped precipitously to about 12%. That's come about by a number of different policies. It's come about because of tax policies that reward people for going offshore. It's come about because of trade policies that have failed, and even their authors now admit that they failed. It's come about because of a number of different economic policies, slow growth policies that were initiated. So when you say, what's our top priority is jobs. Jobs and more jobs to fill the 11 million job holes that we've had since this recession started. But you can't get there unless you address several different problems. Giving people the right to collective bargaining will help because it will give us a fairer share of what we produce, and we will relink productivity with wage gains again like they were when the middle class was built in this country. That's why collective bargaining is so important. It's to give people more of a chance to get some of the wealth that they gain so that the 72% that drives the economy, more people have money to spend.